wellness community gets that right, where traditional medicine, I mean, I wasn't trained in nutrition. I just wasn't. And most traditional Western doctors aren't. And so we have to go back and learn that ourselves. So there are shortcomings in traditional medicine that I think a lot of people are keyed into now. But I do think there's a place for both medicine and wellness. And I think we can flourish better if we sort of adopt both of those.
Welcome to the Suburban Warrior Podcast, the podcast that inspires, educates, and empowers women navigating the chaos of midlife, perimenopause, and menopause. I am your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, a holistic health coach and fierce advocate for women's wellness. With a background in nursing, the pharmaceutical industry, and integrative nutrition, I blend medical expertise with a holistic approach to help women heal naturally, integrate science-backed therapies, and take control of their health. After enduring my own 10-year battle with perimenopause symptoms, I've made it my mission to ensure that no woman has to suffer in silence. Join me as I share expert insights, real-life stories, and actionable strategies to help women reclaim their vitality, prioritize their well-being, and redefine midlife wellness with grit and grace. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer. I'm back this week with an awesome guest. I'm so excited to get into our conversation because there is going to be so much to unpack and talk about with my next guest. But before I get into that, I want to remind you all to visit suburbanwarriorpodcast.com. You can go there and download the free From Pause to Power roadmap. And this is a free download for you that we curated that really has all of the things that you need to know during your perimenopause journey. It's all the things that I wish I knew and had about 10 years ago when I started going through it. It's questions to ask your doctor, symptoms that you could be experiencing. I mean, you name it, it's A to Z, the roadmap. So check it out. It's a free educational download for you. And then also while you're there, sign up for the Pause Like a Warrior newsletter. That is basically a newsletter that gets dropped into your inbox once a week with all of the highlights from each podcast episode, as well as the latest and greatest wellness news for women in midlife. So check that out while you're there. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Dr. Jessica Nazzaro. She is a bird. She's not a bird. She is a board. It's easy for me to say. A board certified OBGYN, certified menopause practitioner, a wife, a mother of two, and an alpaca owner, which we are going to talk about for sure on the podcast because I need to know more about that. So welcome to the podcast, Jessica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I kind of just want to call you Dr. J. Naz because that's your...
You should.
I know.
You can.
I can because that's your Instagram handle and it's like so fun to say.
You know, when I was a kid, so Nazzaro is my last name. That's I'm married, but I kept my last name. So when I was a kid, I actually had J. Naz on my license plates. That was because that's what people called me. Like that's what friends called me. And then in residency, I was just Naz. It was just like... It didn't matter if it was other residents or attendings who are like you're supervising. Those are the sort of overseeing doctors. I was Naz to everybody. So that was just a natural. I got on social media about a year ago after having nothing. And that was a natural, like, well, this is just what people call me. So this is what I'm going to be on social media.
Well,
so,
it's really fun.
Welcome.
Dr. J. Naz. Okay. I love it. I love it. Well, it rolls off the tongue and it feels fun to say. So welcome to the podcast. Tell my listeners a little bit about you.
About me. So as you mentioned, I'm a fully trained, board certified OBGYN. Really, I would say where I am in my career, so where I am professionally is actually a direct result of the shortcomings of my career. So if you look at OBGYNs, and I think a lot of women will think that they can go to their OBGYN for hormonal issues, certainly menopause, just frank outright menopause. The fact is we actually don't get training in menopause, not nearly enough. Yeah. I had zero. Like I wrote 0 prescriptions for HRT in my training and had 1 hour lecture, informal lecture in 4 years of training about menopause. And so when I then went out into my big girl job, my attending job, and people would come in to talk about hormones, I was really ill-equipped to take care of them. And that was a really enlightening moment for me, because I realized it's not that I didn't like the subject matter. I actually do a lot, but I wasn't trained to take care of them. So that's when I studied to become a certified menopause practitioner, so that I could just do better. And so now people come to see me for that, and I can make them feel better. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the best thing for not only the patient, but for me having a vocation where I want to help people. It just helps everybody. And so seeing that gap in the training and of my career is really what drove me to where I am in my career. So yeah, I think it's interesting that, I sort of, if you follow me on Instagram or if you see things, you may not like all of it, and that's okay. But I'm a traditionally trained, currently practicing in traditional medicine. The gaps that exist there are things that I talk about and things that
Yeah.
I've, wanted to learn more about. And that's what has driven me to do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about what you think some of those gaps are.
Yeah, menopause is the biggest one. I mean,
Okay.
that's the obvious one. It just is like, OBGYN training is basically, you learn your surgical skills, your manual skills. Depending on where you go, may be very obstetric heavy, even more so than the surgery and the gynecological surgery side, but that really depends on the program. Most programs lack some formal menopause education. That's probably changing now, which is to the benefit of all of us. But this is, there are just 2 decades of not training women, not giving hormone replacement therapy, or knowing the benefits of that. So I think that was the most glaring gap. Is
Yeah.
it is the gap for patients. Patients aren't getting what they need or what can benefit them the most. But it also is a gap for training. I mean, we're not training doctors to do this. I mean, they're OBGYNs. I still know of OBGYNs who, can't speak to this or think that HRT is only for, debilitating menopause symptoms, and they don't know the preventive benefit. And so it's a two-sided issue that has affected the population. So that's probably the biggest one. And then
Yeah.
I think traditional medicine just, especially if you look on social media, which most women are doing, by the time women come to see me, they are armed with a lot of information.
Yeah.
Like you some women come in knowing exactly what they want, and some aren't quite there but have a ton of information. And I think
Right.
the information online, while a lot of it is accurate and a lot of it's good, you have to sift through it, because it is a lot of it portrayed as black and white, like medicine or wellness,
Right.
pharmaceuticals or supplements, when actually what's probably optimal for us is somewhere in the middle. And that's how I like to practice. That's what I like to portray on my social media. That's what I do for myself. And I think that's probably where the best health is. But if you just look online, you're probably not going to appreciate that level of nuance. And I think
Yeah.
that's just a shortcoming of traditional medicine, that we're pitting ourselves against the wellness community or other things like that, in that sense of it's black and white. It really is not. And I think that's a disservice to our health, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, having been in medicine as well and in pharmaceuticals, I think that I feel like the answer from, traditional Western medicine is always, okay, well, here, take this. You have a symptom. Here's the medicine. Here's the pill that is going to help you with that symptom. And for the longest time, I feel like that worked. And that was like, okay, yeah, that made sense to me. It wasn't until really like my whole body was breaking down and I was getting zero answers from traditional Western medicine that I had to really dive deep within my own body, my own bio individuality, my own cells, understand what was going on in my body, and realize that really I held the responsibility for
Yes.
what was going on in my body, right? Like it was what I was doing, the habits that I had, what I was eating, how I was sleeping, how I was functioning, the stress I was under. And it wasn't until I kind of learned all of that part that I realized that, oh, wait, it's not just a pill that's going to heal me. It
Correct.
still can be, to your point, right? It's not black or white. It's not either or. I do agree with what you're saying. And I think a lot of people see it as either one way or the other, when it is this beautiful mix of both
Yes.
that can
We're
help
so
us.
complex, and we
Yeah.
should be addressed in a complex way because we're so complex. But what the
Yeah.
wellness community gets right are some of the targeted supplements, depending on, depending
Yeah.
on what's in them. And I always caution patients on that, but they get sunlight right, some, not to the extreme, but getting
Right.
sunlight, movement, circadian rhythm, that is all the wellness community gets that stuff. Whole foods,
Yeah.
wellness community gets that right, where traditional medicine, I mean, I wasn't trained in nutrition. I just
Right.
wasn't. And most traditional Western doctors aren't. And so we have to go back and learn that ourselves. So there are shortcomings in traditional medicine that I think a lot of people are keyed into now.
Yeah.
And that's, but I do think there's a place for both health, medicine and wellness. And I think we can flourish better if we sort of adopt both of those. But, if you just look online, you're probably not going to get that perspective. But that's how I
Yeah.
practice. That's how I tend to be. So, and in my own life.
Yeah. So I also know that you also focus on like a non-toxic lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that you live and probably also, I'm assuming maybe help your patients with. Talk to me about that a little bit, especially
Yeah.
in this toxic soup that we are living
Oh,
in.
yeah, it is. It really is. And I think if we really were to like peel back the lens, take a high level view of like human history, we are really crunched in a very toxic time period. I mean, just the amount of chemicals, the amount of things that can be made and that are then marketed to us, and especially to women, I think
Yeah.
it really is an interesting thing, and it's so normal to us to see the product and feel that we need to have it. And I think everyone's gotten really good at creating things and marketing things, even if they are toxic. But I think that was
Absolutely.
I think part of the inspiration for that, to be completely honest, is how sick I see people coming into my office. And I'm an OBGYN, so in general, people are pretty happy. I mean, when I was shadowing my OBGYN back in the day before medical school and wondering what I was going to do, she was like, I have a pretty happy, healthy population. And I thought, wow, that's nice. And we're the only specialty where we say congratulations on a regular basis, right? Like
Right. Right.
it is typically very happy, but something really seems to have changed both with the physical health and the mental health of patients, where people are very sick. And I think social media plays into that, especially with mental health and especially with young women, but not only young
Yeah.
women. And the physical health, I mean, I see very young women who are metabolically sick, who are obese, who are hypertensive, they're on medications, they're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or have those same metabolic issues, but in pregnancy. So we call them gestational when they happen in pregnancy. And I
Right.
think all of that was very much infertility. I see infertility in young women who, really don't have a glaring reason why they can't conceive. I think all of that was very, I don't, maybe frightening to me. And
Yeah.
having a daughter also, I was like, I really need to rethink what we keep in our house, the products that we use, makeup. I've never worn much makeup, and I'm not saying I look the same as people who do. It's just not my preference. But even the things that I was using, I sort of trashed a bunch of it and replaced with a few products that I use that I trust more. But yeah, I think the combination of seeing what I see clinically and then aging myself and having a young daughter and really having to think about what I show her and what
Yeah.
I expose her to, and I have a son too, but what I expose my kids to, because men, adolescent and adult men, are very sick too. I just don't see them clinically.
Right.
That was really it for us. And I think it fits with our lifestyle. I mean, we have kind of a homesteady sort of lifestyle, but we ditched our plastic containers. We don't use plastic. We don't put plastic in the microwave. We really eat pretty whole foods. It's very boring, but we don't care. And it is like, and so if we travel, it's harder when we travel, but when we feel the difference. I mean, if we eat just takeout or fast food, or if we do that
Yeah.
for several days in a row, we really feel it. We really feel the difference. And I actually have said, is this how we felt all the time before? Because this doesn't feel good. I mean, my head is pounding. I feel tired. I feel sluggish. I feel foggy. And so, yeah, I think the combination of those things is what sort of inspired those changes. And it's not perfect,
Yeah.
and
It
that's
never
okay.
is.
It never is, and that's okay. That's not the point. And even for me, I'm like, wow, I'm in my late 30s. Have I been exposed to too much already? I don't know. but
Right.
I'm going to make this effort now, and I'm certainly going to make this effort for my kids. So, but yeah, that was really where that came from.
Did you notice like a pretty significant change just over the years of, that you were practicing clinically? Did you notice like patients getting sicker and sicker?
I think so. And I've been
Yeah.
practicing for almost 10 years now. So between residency and then after residency, I do. I think it's really, really hard to see young people being so sick.
Yeah.
And to have that be, I think some people realize that they're sick and that they don't feel well and that they're trying everything. I mean, women will come in and be like, I've tried everything. I can't get this weight off. And these are women in their 20s.
Yeah.
But I think this has been a big change. And I think, the artificial light really plays into this, and, how that affects our brain and how that affects our biology. And that's something I've been really intentional about in my own life. Again, not perfect.
Right.
I work, and it's really easy to like check emails all the time. You just have to set those boundaries. But yeah, I absolutely think so. I think it's not just the pocket of the population where I practice. I in no
Right.
way suggest that it's just here. I think it is across the country,
Yeah.
across the world for a large
Yeah.
part of it.
Absolutely. It's our like the sedentary lifestyle.
Yes.
More and more people are just eating their meals out, getting fast food, like you said, being inside, not moving their bodies. It's just this perfect storm
It
of
is.
toxicity. And it just seems that it's getting worse and worse.
I think it's getting worse and worse. And it's people aren't moving their bodies, but at the same time, people are awake a lot more. Like, it's not like people are
Yeah.
sleeping more. We actually sleep less than we used to,
Yep.
population wise. But people are up late with
Watching
artificial light
Netflix.
and on the screens. And yeah, and
Yep.
I've done it. We used to do that.
Yeah.
And
Of
like,
course.
but I think that's very common. I think it's very common for young people.
Yeah.
So it really is disheartening, and it's hard to see. And I do talk to patients about like getting sunlight and moving and start where you are. Like, I don't expect you to go run a marathon. I'm not running a marathon. I never want to. I don't plan to. I mean, that's not
Right.
it. But we need to start somewhere and progress, right? Like, we need to be moving forward in a way. And so I do talk to patients about that. And, patients will try to clean up their eating and think they're eating well, but there's a lot of hidden stuff
Yeah.
that even, eating a salad. Well, guess what? Is probably in your salad dressing is a bunch of,
Yeah.
you know, high fructose
Junk.
corn syrup and sugar. And yes. And so you really think you're doing the right thing
Yeah.
when you eat that salad, and it's sort of like slid in there in your dressing that it's going to affect you. I'm not saying eating salad's a bad thing, or like people are eating salads all the time and still unhealthy, but there's just, even when people think that they're doing the right thing and making a conscious effort to be healthier, sometimes that's why they can't see a result, because it's sort of subliminally in there affecting them negatively.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I know, on your Instagram and stuff, you talk a lot about sort of brain fog and fogginess. And I don't know if that's something that you have felt personally
Yeah.
or your patients have, but I do know that that is it's such a symptom in midlife for women
Yeah.
that, the hot flashes are there, the sleeplessness, the weight gain. Yes, these are all joint pain, you name it. Like these are all terrible symptoms. But I do feel like one of the most debilitating is the brain fog because people do say that you just lose your energy,
Hmm.
you can't concentrate, you feel stupid because you can't think like right. I mean, like these are all things that I hear. I mean, I've experienced brain fog personally, so I know how it made me feel as well.
Hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about sort of brain fog, what you see, if you've experienced it, and what can we do for it.
Yes, I've definitely experienced this. And for some it is going to be related to hormones. Menopause certainly can have that effect
Yeah.
because the brain is loaded with estrogen receptors and progesterone, and those are very beneficial hormones to our brain. So that is definitely one way that it can present. That wasn't it for me, but I do see that clinically when I see patients and talk to patients. But for me, I think it was chronic stress, medical training, still going 100 miles an hour with working. And then I had my kids and I still tried to keep the same pace.
Yeah.
And, like I'll sleep later and I only slept 2 hours tonight. And all of that, just trying to stay on the gas without pumping the brakes. I think that finally caught up to me. I think the amount of alcohol and the frequency of drinking alcohol caught up to me. So I would feel that way just drinking one glass of wine with dinner
Yeah.
after I had my first kid, and I was like, all right, that's not going to work anymore because I don't want to feel I don't want to feel this way.
Right.
But I will, like, depending again, if we are traveling or we're not eating our typical way, I'll feel that way. If I don't sleep, I'll feel very just so exhausted that I get foggy. And so I think for a lot of people, it could be diet related. Alzheimer's is some also called type 3 diabetes, if you've read that, because
Yeah,
just the
I have.
carbohydrate load and glucose load. So I think for a lot of people, it could be diet related, lack of exercise related. So if I increase the intensity of my exercise, I actually feel much better. So I was selling myself short with my exercise. I like to exercise, but I was kind of doing it and wasn't really pushing the intensity. And I actually noticed a benefit when I was like, all right, I can do more. I did a VO2 max test and a body composition test and was like, oh, I can, this is telling me I can do more.
Okay.
And so
That's
once
interesting.
I was sort of, I had to be told that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to
Right.
push it unless I was told. And that's where,
Yeah.
a trainer or a coach and, that could have been my mirror, but I didn't have that. So I had that test and I decided to push it. But high intensity intervals, or sprint training can help with the neurogenesis and how we form new neurons. And so that's another thing. So I think, substances, alcohol is definitely marketed to women, just as a
Yeah.
lifestyle. And I don't know, everyone has to be individual about that. I sort of take it as a rare special occasion now where I used to drink daily. I think there are a lot of effects that we, aren't told when we're sort of shown that lifestyle and that vibe. But exercise, diet, and then hormones. I mean, the
Yeah.
hormones wasn't it for me in terms of menopause, but stress hormones, I mean, I think that absolutely played into it for me, and just having to finally pump the brakes because everything was just catching up to me.
Yeah. So, did you modify your lifestyle as far as like just taking your foot off the gas a little bit and modify sort of any habits that you did? Did you, is that when you got the alpacas?
My alpacas, oh, how long have I had my alpacas now? I don't think it wasn't related, but I've had them for, I don't
Okay.
know, 6 years now. But yeah, I
Oh,
did
wow.
modify. I modified things for myself. I mean, I do prioritize exercise, and I try to do more days in a week than not. So if I get 4 days in a week, I call that a win.
Yeah.
I do still currently take call for being an OB. So if I've been up all night, I'm not working out that next morning.
Sure.
So I try not to skip 2 days in a row. So I have little rules for myself, but I really tried to prioritize exercise. We really changed our diet. I want to say cutting carbohydrates, which is partially true, but I do eat fruit and vegetables. So it's not just the carbohydrates, but really processed food and, again,
Yeah.
alcohol, cutting out. Professionally, I cut back to a certain extent. I mean, I stopped doing major surgeries. I stopped taking extra call. So I take the call that I am required to take, and, not otherwise, because it was, again, I started to have a harder time recovering from
Yeah.
those up all night, calls. And I had a harder time, and I still do have a harder time, but it is what it is. So I had to adjust that to help myself, because I think physically it really all caught up to me.
Yeah.
And so I had to make those adjustments. The other things that I really was intentional about was prioritizing sleep. I know everyone says that, but I think in medical culture, we're really taught not to prioritize sleep, right?
Yeah.
You sleep when you can.
Stay up all night. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
lit- there.
Exactly.
There's a phrase: sleep when you can and eat when you can. So
Yeah.
if you're living by that phrase, you're really not being intentional about sleep or eating. And so I had to, I have blackout curtains and I have the silk sleep mask, and I started taking magnesium, which is fantastic. I love magnesium.
Me too. What kind of magnesium do you take? Because
So
there's so much, so many
yeah,
different
so
kinds.
the supplements that I use are from Thorne. I appreciate their ingredient transparency, and pretty much it's, there's no sugar in them. Some of these very well marketed supplements that are very pretty and they have very pretty packaging, they have sugar, they have corn syrup, they have glucose syrup. And I'm like, that's not,
Yeah.
you don't need that.
Right. I mean, do you take mag glycinate?
I take magnesium bisglycinate. I use a
Okay.
powder that I mix in my water. I actually like the taste of it. It has a little like lemony taste to it. So I actually
Yeah.
like it. But
Okay.
yeah, that really changed sleep for me. And,
Yeah. Me
especially
too.
after having kids, I just had not slept. And even if I had the opportunity to sleep, like take a nap, my husband's great. He'd say, go lie down. Even if I would do that, I was so stressed that I wouldn't be able to sleep. I could
Yeah.
have the perfect
Totally.
I could have the perfect situation for taking a nap and I wouldn't be able to. And so I can now. So
Yeah. That's
that
awesome.
that is just sort of an intentional thing that I had to do. The other thing is artificial light. So if I'm not on call, I don't have my phone in my bedroom. I try not to have it be the last thing that I look at night or the first thing I look at in the morning. I like reading
Yeah.
books, so I read actual books as opposed to scrolling, and that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And
It
I
is
hear that from people all the time,
all the
like
time.
that I'm, not sleeping well, and when I ask what you're doing, you're scrolling or playing games on your phone to unwind. And I appreciate that thought process, but the actual artificial light is really not helping sleep. And
No.
so even that change really has been a positive too. If I am up late or if I'm on my phone later than usual, I actually do feel it in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, as do I. I feel everything that's like just a little bit off these
I
days.
know, I know.
I mean, it is crazy. All right, I want to go back to the alpacas because I need to understand like was that how do you just come about owning alpacas? Is that like a
I think my husband probably wants to understand as much as you do because this so I had an attending in residency he was nearing retirement age and he was deep into alpaca world. Like he was really an alpaca person. He had over 30
okay?
of them. He did
Wow.
shows. I mean, this is people do alpaca shows and we don't do that. They're pets to me, but I
Yeah.
just was so interested in talking to him about his alpacas. And I love animals. I've always loved animals. And so we went over. They get their fleece sheared off once a year. And so
Okay.
we went to a shearing day, which is usually in the spring. We went to his house and then we went home with three of the animals. And then
So
I
do you have
actually,
three of them?
so I wanted to get one more because I thought,
Okay.
for some reason, I like things in pairs. And so I thought, well,
Okay.
four, that'll be a good number. So we went back and we ended up with two more. We couldn't pick just one. So now we have five alpacas.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, you still don't have an even number.
I still don't have an even number, and they're all girls, so we don't breed. We're talking about it, but
Oh,
their breeding season has to be a certain time so that they're not too young headed into winter.
okay.
So that might be coming in 2026. My husband and I are
Oh,
done breeding, so I think I still have the maternal instinct to
yeah. I
have
love
have
that.
another baby around of some species. But so yeah, we just sort of happened into alpacas, and yeah, they just have a peaceful life out there. And we have two
Yeah.
dogs that live out with them. They're Great Pyrenees, and they're their guard dogs, and two barn cats. Of course, everyone needs a barn cat, but it's we have sort of a homesteady life, and I love it. We're getting chickens in a couple weeks
I was
too,
gonna
so
say, wait, you have this homesteady life and you don't have chickens?
We have chickens coming in a couple weeks. I
Ah,
I
now
can't
you
believe
got it.
we haven't done it sooner. Every time we got close, we would put it off. And so now here we're finally getting chickens, but so yeah, we'll see how that
I love
goes.
it. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people around me have chickens, and I'm very jealous of all the fresh eggs that they have.
Yeah.
So it's very
Yeah.
cool. So I know that you're sort of like in this like not a crossroads, but like a transitional part
Yeah.
of your career right now too. So, which happens, right? Over the course of our lifetime, we evolve and we change, and with that, our careers change. So tell me about sort of where you're at and what that transition is looking like for you.
Yeah, I'm smack in the middle of the transition. So I don't know where the road will take me, but we never really do. So I just know that the traditional medicine and special traditional OBGYN practice is so demanding and we need people to do it and we need good people to do it. but I think it has conflicted so much with me personally and with me physically, and certainly with my family and what my family needs from me
Yeah.
as a wife and a mother, that I need this transition. Not to mention, my area of enjoyment and passion is this menopause space and the midlife space. I love it. Like I said, I love when people come to me and say things like, I feel amazing and I feel like myself again. There
Yeah.
is some validation of my vocation when I hear those things, on top of her feeling better. So
Yeah.
that's number one. But I think of knowing what my skills and my knowledge and my gift is that I can give, that validates what I'm giving. And so that has come to the forefront of what I want to do professionally, that also will work much better for my family, which is so important. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
allow me to work in a way that prioritizes my family, which is at this stage of my life exactly what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I enjoy work. I enjoy hard work. I mean, I have a vocation. I do think I have something to offer to my community, and whether that's online or a physical community, but my family has to be prioritized. And so I think all of that is sort of coming together in this storm of change that I hope and pray works out for the best. But I think our lifestyle and my passions and all of this, I think it all does sort of package into a whole specialty of my own that's sort of, it really is just mine. And so
Yeah.
that's where I am. And yeah, thank God that we have the opportunity to change and mold
Yeah.
things to our life
Absolutely.
and where we are. And I like helping people do that too. I think it's a beautiful thing. So it's unsettling, but it's a beautiful thing.
It is unsettling, but it just speaks to how we learn and grow, right?
Hmm.
And as we learn and grow as human beings, each one of us, and we learn new things and we see that maybe something that worked for us in the past isn't currently working. And that is unsettling because then you're like, wait a second, I worked so hard to get here
Yeah.
and now this isn't working. Like, what? And especially someone like you who went through residency and all of these years of training to become a doctor. And so I get it. And then you want to take a different step forward. And that's not always easy because it's nerve wracking and scary and unsure. But at the same time, it's really it's the only way that we grow is to sort of follow that path that we feel is right for us.
Yeah.
And it is, I interview a lot of physicians on the podcast. I have a lot of friends who are physicians. It is a story that I hear a lot of just about how traditional medicine has changed
Yeah.
and has made it a lot more difficult to care for patients
Yeah.
in the amount of time that you're given,
Yes.
right? And sometimes the training that you've had, you have to constantly train to get up to speed with new things that are coming out. And it's not working. And it's not
It's
working.
not working.
And it's not working. And
Everybody
it's
knows
really
it.
not working for patients either.
Nope.
I mean, honestly, and not just OBGYNs, but like you go to you go to an endocrinologist, a gastroenterologist, a cardio, I mean, you name it, whatever
It's not working.
specialty, it's not working. Like,
No.
and if that's part of like why I'm so passionate about the health coaching that I do, because I do have my medical base of knowledge, but it's really about empowering people to, again, take control of their health for
Yes.
themselves and then seek people that are the experts where they need to. But
Yes.
if you're looking to go into a doctor's appointment and sit there and talk to them for 45 minutes about your problem and expect that it's going to be solved when you leave, well, it's not happening. I mean, first of all,
No.
you're getting 10 minutes if you're lucky,
Yeah.
and maybe you walk out with a prescription. And then you walk out, they have no idea what's happening with you. There's very little follow up. It's just the whole system is kind of, and listen, I'm for it. I'm not trying to trash the system, but it's kind of evolved in such a way that it's not working. If it's not working for you, you have to work for yourself, I guess is
Yes.
my point.
Yes. And there's so much there that I could unpack just from that. But yeah, we need modern medicine and we need
Yeah,
hospitals. And I had my appendix out
right.
almost a year ago and it was starting to rupture. I needed surgery. I needed a hospital stay. We need that.
Of course.
I mean, there's no question about that. I think the issue is that we are now using hospitals for everything as hospitals concentrate power. We're
Yeah.
using hospitals or hospital-based systems for everything from preventive care to cancer screenings to, wellness, and it doesn't work, and everyone knows it. So we know it as doctors, and patients definitely know it
Yeah.
because they walk out feeling like I didn't even say what I needed to say. I didn't have
Right.
time. That was so rushed, or I don't remember what she said, or, you know, both sides of the story here know it. And
Exactly.
yeah, I just see a conveyor belt of patients. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
and I do it when I'm post call, when I feel like I'm going to fall off my chair because I'm so tired. And none of that works. And it's not, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for patients. And so, yeah, I think we're going to start to see more people leave to do, direct care, whether it's primary care or specialty care, or,
Yeah.
I'm going to be launching some things. And I love health coaching. I did that a little bit because I felt like I could do something that I didn't get to do in my office, which
Right.
is talk about sleep and habits and boundaries and goals. And I don't get to do that in my office. And I really
Right.
enjoyed it. I mean, it felt light and fun and helpful. And I think patients need it because you're not getting it from the doctor's office. And
Exactly.
we have so much information, but we don't always know how to apply it to ourselves. That's where a coach comes in. And so I am getting ready to launch some programs, coaching and telemedicine and things as my website gets totally revamped into a whole new thing, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, I think the traditional medical system it really leaves something to be desired, and I think we all know it, and
Yeah.
that's why we are seeking to do other things as physicians. That's why patients are looking somewhere else for help. That's why people are looking online or, you know, looking somewhere else for help because they're not getting it in the
Right.
traditional medical system. So we need it,
Yeah. We do.
of course, but I think we have maybe concentrated it a little bit too much and tried to funnel everyone through that system that it's not working.
Yeah. And I do think there also, it's just so much education too, right? Like along with it, like educating individuals to understand their bodies a little bit more, understand how the choices they make impact their bodies, so that we are really forming, because right now it's really a sick care system that we have. And
Hmm.
if we could really focus on wellness, knowing that things that we are doing for ourselves now are going to impact us 10 years from now,
Hmm.
and when you start teaching people that, sometimes they do make different decisions because it is hard. Like most people aren't going to the doctor until something's broken,
Yeah.
until they're falling apart, and
Yep.
and that's normal. That's how we sort of have been taught. You go to the doctor when you're sick, but I think we need to kind of flip the script on that and start really seeking care from practitioners when we're still feeling good, or maybe when we
Yes.
want to feel better, but the wheels haven't completely fallen off the bus
Yes.
yet.
Yeah, how do we
Right.
tweak this so to make it better? If I think if we're on a constant journey of improvement, then
Yes,
that's
exactly.
that's where we can get some preventive medicine or maybe a health coach in the mix to help us. But because we don't always know what the next step is, or what do I,
Right.
like I went to do a DEXA fit test, and that sort of acted as my mirror to say, oh, you can push up this intensity and that's going to benefit you. I needed that reflection
Right.
back to me. So yeah, I think that's why we have all these amazing programs outside of traditional medicine that really help people. And
Yeah.
and I think it all can be complementary, but yeah, I think that's why change is happening on the part of patients
Good.
and on the part of, providers and doctors too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. And to your point, it is a journey because I feel like it's not like there's no one thing that you need to do, right? It's not like just sleep. It's not just movement. It's not,
Nope.
and I mean, feel like I've been on my wellness journey for the last 10 years. And when I look back on it, I'm in awe of how I've healed myself, from like a lifelong asthmatic, from 15 years of GERD and being on prescription. Like, I mean, it literally goes on and on and on. But those were all sort of by accident because I was just trying to heal other symptoms that I had
Mhm.
that were most likely from perimenopause. But, and I still am constantly evolving and changing and
Yes.
switching up supplements and switching up habits to see how I can optimize, how I feel. And
Yes.
it really is a journey. But once you start, I feel like it's like addicting. Like you can't stop, because once you start feeling good and you realize that you hold the power within yourself, then you're like, oh, okay,
Oh, I can do
you
this.
know, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah,
So
and I think for me, I think healing from chronic stress, even though I mean I do still have a lot of stress. Yeah, healing from chronic stress, like I said, I couldn't even nap. Even if I had the perfect
yeah,
environment, my body wouldn't let me nap. And I had to heal that. And
of
that
course.
was I was on a beta blocker for heart palpitations that were strictly from stress. And
Wow.
so I stopped those, and I was taking birth control pills really just for the convenience of not having a period, but then I had this awful hip pain, and my estrogen was very low. It looked like someone in menopause, so I stopped birth control pills. And so I did all of that healing, and that was just me sort of like tinkering with myself and realizing I had to change.
Yeah.
And I did that outside of the medical system.
Right.
But yeah, it just is, everyone is their own experiment basically. And a wellness journey, I don't think a wellness journey has an end. I don't know. I hope it doesn't, because
Yeah.
like my mom is 78, and she goes to Tai Chi for balance work, and
It's awesome.
she'll do some exercises to, she has osteoporosis, so we need to kind of be mindful of that. And I hope it never ends. So
Yeah.
it just is, it's going to look different depending on where we are, but I think medicine leaves out the wellness, and wellness can sometimes leave out medicine. I mean, hormone
Yeah.
replacement can either be compounded or prescription, and I prescribe that all the time. So I think somewhere in the middle is where we find our best health, truly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Dr. J. Naz, thank you so much for joining us on the Suburban Warrior podcast. Tell my listeners, well, they know they can find you on Instagram at Dr. J. Naz. You also are going to be launching a new website?
New website. So that's starting next month. So it should be pre-Christmas that the new website is there. As of right now, drjnaz.com is my doctor website. It's always
Awesome.
something. Farm is the farm website. Those are going to be coming under one umbrella. So I will update you with the domain and the website. If you follow me, you'll see it all unfold. But
Awesome.
I think it's going to be an awesome community: women's health, wellness, faith forward, farm lifestyle, the wholesome living that I don't just say it, I actually do it. So, and I'm figuring this out too. So even with my medical knowledge, I'm still my own experiment. So follow
Yeah.
along. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see it all.
I love that. And thank you for even saying that, because I appreciate your, like, you know, with all of your medical knowledge, all of your years of, medical school training and residency, and then practicing medicine for all of these years, right? Because I think some women think that oh, I don't have it figured out, but she does. But here you are saying, after all these years, you're still figuring it out, because it's a
Still figuring it
journey,
out.
right? Our lives are a journey. These bodies that we're in are a journey. They
Hmm.
are changing on us, and they are switching things up, and we're trying to figure it out as we go. And I love what you're doing, going back to like this, back to natural, back to nature, farm. I want to create a garden. I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Oh, you can do it.
But
You can do it.
yeah, I know I can. I gotta figure that out, because that's my next step on my journey.
Good.
But yeah, but I love what you're doing, and I love that you're taking us along for the ride. And like you said, we'll see where it all goes. Right?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Only time will
Well,
tell.
thank you so much for being here and being authentic and open. I loved our conversation. And guys, thank you so much for joining me on the Suburban Warrior podcast. You can catch every episode anywhere you get your podcast. And we would love to know what you think of this episode. Drop us a comment and leave a review, because that's how other women will get to hear this episode even more. And we'll be back next week with another amazing suburban warrior here to share her story with you. In the meantime, we are redefining midlife wellness with grit and grace, and hope you are too. Have a great week, everybody.